So Disney World and the Walt Disney Company has gone through a few changes for the last couple years, some good, some bad, some very bad. And being that I've actually worked there in the parks on my college program, I spent some time at night pondering, if only I could become an Imagineer. What kind of changes would I make to the Disney parks that would give the resort a much better overall experience? I thought of big ones, like absolutely gutting out Genie Plus from existence, and I thought of small ones, like gutting out Genie Plus from existence. But I don't want to rehash anything that someone else has said. I'm going to do about five, probably top 5 things I would do on my first day as an Imagineer in a parallel universe where I actually do become an Imagineer. This is in no real order. Some of these are way more fleshed out than others. Some are massive changes. Some are refurbishments and aesthetic choices. So let's just get right into it. So, okay. If I was an Imagineer, I would, 1, remove the rocks from the entrance of Tomorrowland. Yeah, I know, a huge company shaking change. No, but for real, these rocks take away from some of the view of Tomorrowland landscape from the hub view. It's sort of like a color eyesore because it clashes with the neon and chrome architecture of the land. And going off of that, Tomorrowland is supposed to be sleek, futuristic, nostalgic, and none of those attributes are given off by rocks. There's a reason why Frontierland has a lot of rocks, a lot of red rocks. It adds to the landscape of the land, immerses you into that land's experience, and enhances the idea that you're just a town in the west, in the desert. The rocks outside Tomorrowland remove the idea that you're stepping into a big futuristic city. They block the view of the fireworks from the land and don't add any necessary elements to the area of the park. That's why I would probably just remove them and then just keep it how it is. I don't know if I would add anything to the entrance of Tomorrowland after that. Next, this is actually a pretty big one. This is not just changing and taking out rocks. This is a huge one. I would add a real tangible reward system to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge in Hollywood Studios. The main basic premise of this idea is that when you ride Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, on screen, once the ride is complete and you went through it all, it actually gives you a reward in the form of in-universe Star Wars credits. That's their point system. Like Toy Story Mania and Buzz Lightyear, they give you points. In Smuggler's Run, they give you credits. It's their point system. It's really just how many points you achieve based on how well your crew did throughout the ride. This adds a sense of realism to the ride's outcome. It motivates you and your crew to actually perform well on the ride's heist, and it rewards the guests based on how well they do once everything is said and done. What a guest could do is earn let's say 1,000 credits. I don't know, 1,000 credits. They tap or scan their My Disney Experience app, from their phone or their Magic Band, to the panel. I'm guessing something. Make changes to the ride where it look like the poles when you enter a Disney park, where you tap your Magic Band with the little Mickey and you tap it and it goes around in a circle and lights up blue or green. At, let's say, the milk stand, you could use those credits like a $5 reward coupon or something along those lines. Or at a merchandise store, those credits can actually be used to buy different little trinkets and things. Now, I see several problems with this. This is basically a free money glitch to whoever rides the ride. And to that, I would say, Disney's way too expensive to start getting greedy on how they pay back their guests for visiting their parks. I get it, that they're paying tons of money, hundreds if not thousands of dollars to go to these parks, stay at these hotels, and buy all the food. It's kind of weird to pay the guests back in transactional point of view, because they're already you're paying for the experience, you're paying for these rides, but there's so much that goes into actually going to Disney parks. So the least that they could do is just here's a $5 coupon, here you go. Or maybe how the transactions would functionally work. That's, a question. I'd say maybe at checkout, you bring your My Disney Experience app or your Magic Band or whatever, and you get a certain amount of dollars off of your blue or green milk based on how many credits you collected. Then another question comes up: what's stopping someone from constantly going on the ride over and over and over again, getting tons of credits, building all those credits up, maybe even using Genie Plus to go on the ride multiple times per hour? And to that, I would say, 1, put a limit on it. I don't know. But Disney is gaining money either way. the guests could spend their hard-earned money on Lightning Lanes and Genie Plus over and over and over again all day just to get free milk. If I were Disney, I'd be like, go right ahead. you already you you already spent your money getting in here. If that's how you're gonna use your time, go ahead. Waste your time, waste your money. Doesn't matter to us, because at the end of the day, Disney's making more money than the amount of money that they're giving away. They're adding another level of realism to one of their most immersive lands. I think Galaxy's Edge desperately needs a sense of kinetic movement and connectivity throughout the land. Sure, there's characters that walk about. Sure, there's the bounty hunting thing where you can like scan different doors or whatever. But that does not add nowhere near the level of popularity this integration would be. Now, this next one might come as just like a little bit of a nitpick, but I absolutely hate the additions of Pixar characters in the hotels on the Seven Seas Lagoon outside the Magic Kingdom, specifically for the Contemporary Resort. This is what this next part is about. Disney mostly adding the Incredibles characters to the lobby and rooms, but golly, this just looks so bad. Like, I get it from a toddler's point of view that the Incredibles are from sort of like a 1950s, 1960s American timeline, and their villains use a lot of futuristic technology. But in no way does that mean you have to force it down guests' throats when they stay at this hotel. The Contemporary is supposed to be like a Tomorrowland, sleek, clean design with simple shapes and lines giving off this retrofuturism aesthetic. But I never seen Disney try to spit in the guest's face like this. It completely ruins the clean design of the Contemporary. It's completely out of character for the hotel. And worst of all Disney guests are paying high price for this resort close to the Magic Kingdom. And it's a deluxe resort on top of that. They're also paying for a hotel on the Seven Seas Lagoon, notoriously known for the completely original designs and creative looks for their different cultures or point in times they're trying to give off. The Polynesians more like a Hawaiian beach theme, and the Grand Floridians giving off this like Victorian style hotel, while the Contemporary is this retrofuturism. And just throwing Incredibles characters inside their hotels is just awful. It looks so bad. Adding characters in the parks, and more specifically Epcot, is one thing, but forcing Disney characters down guests' throats in a place where they might be just trying to relax and unwind in a futuristic hotel all day, every day when you're at Disney, when you're on a Disney vacation, all you do is consume Disney characters, Pixar characters all day, every day. And then you go back to your hotel. And I get that you're staying on property. That's why they have like the All-Star Movies and All-Star Sports, different hotels where it's like a little bit more geared towards kids, a little bit more like here's more characters, here's more colors. But when you're staying on a deluxe resort on the Seven Seas Lagoon, you kind of want that, uniqueness. You kind of want that creativity that you can't get anywhere else. And when you go back to the Contemporary and you just had Pixar characters thrown in your face all day long, and you get to your hotel room, you get to your bed, and you slap your face down on the pillow. You look up and there's just Dash. Dash from The Incredibles sitting, looking up at you. Jeez. And you put your head back down and you go to sleep. Like, come on. Like, I get that it's Disney, but you don't need to be force-fed Disney all day, every day inside the resort. Speaking of hotels and different attractions at Walt Disney World, I personally love it when hotels and attractions have their own uniqueness and originality to them, not based off any other pre-existing IP. And I understand the company's integration. It's good for the company. But what Disney World was based off of was originality and making new and authentic experiences with creativity at the focal point. And I say all of that to say some new creativity could work wonders in the hotels and attractions that are still standing without the need to throw Pixar characters, to throw in Incredibles characters in it, or new IPs into the mix to spice up old attractions. How about a new story or lore for different places in the parks? This idea is a little bit underdeveloped and undercooked, but I have an idea that I think will make a little bit more sense. You know the store that you used to come into once you got off of Space Mountain? Like the little store like to the left? Now it's a Tron gift shop named the Tomorrowland Launch Depot. But once upon a time, it was the exit gift shop for Space Mountain and was promptly named Tomorrowland's Light and Power Company. It was a gift shop. The unofficial lore of the land is that it was this building that could power all of Tomorrowland and focus on unofficial, because I don't know if Disney ever said something like that. But if I were an Imagineer, I would assign this building Now the new Launch Depot gift shop as the power station, this is all in quotations, as the power station for Tron Light Cycle Run. Make up and be creative about a background or lore for the building and possibly adding plaques or posters of some sort, giving off the vibe that this building itself just isn't any old Tron gift shop, but the money spent here goes directly into the operations of the rides in Tomorrowland, specifically Tron Light Cycle Run. I don't know, something goofy like that adds depth to these places, allowing these lands to feel more lived in rather than just slapping a name on a building and just labeling it as a gift shop. It's still standing like as the structure, so it's a dome top. It kind of looks like a half oval. It looks like a power company. It looks like something like that. It looks like a power plant. It still has like the little clock and designs outside the building, making it, ready and able to just throw some imaginary lore into it. Another idea, and this is all part of the same point, this is just to drive home the point that I have no idea what I'm talking about, is adding big old stage numbers and letters to the different attractions buildings throughout Hollywood studios. And what you could do is what I would do if I was an Imagineer, is bring back the Citizens of Hollywood, a completely original street performance not based off of any IP within the park. And it adds a level of realism to the park. And I don't know, bring them back, change up their script a little, and have them say something to the effect of, oh, I'm shooting a picture in Soundstage 16 later, or something like that. And everyone in the crowd would be like, oh, okay, that's cool. That's just a throwaway line. Then the guests would make their way through the park and maybe look up and see, oh, look at that. One of the buildings that leads into Toy Story Land on my right has Soundstage 16 in big lettering right outside right on the outside of it. That must be where the citizen of Hollywood that I saw earlier is shooting his next movie at. That's pretty cool. That's probably where he is at right now. I don't know, just adding another small amount of realism and authenticity to these parks that wouldn't be hard to create and allow for even more immersion in these parks. And lastly, I think this is 5. My most ambitious idea, if I was an Imagineer, my first day, I would start to create plans and eventually build an Egypt pavilion for the World Showcase in Epcot. Listen, the last pavilion that was made for Epcot was almost 40 years ago. Norway was made almost 40 years ago. It's about time that we add a new one, and no better country to add than, I think, Egypt. I have several reasons why, and the first one is cool. I think all the creative and unique things that you could do is force perspective with the pyramids of Giza. I don't know, have the first one that you go inside of. Maybe it could be also just like Mexico, where most of the pavilion is held inside. And then when you walk out of that pyramid or something like that, you see like the 2 other ones or 3 other ones, whatever, outside of the park, outside of the boundaries, and you see them from forced perspective. The area where this, pavilion would be taking over is the African Outpost. It's right between China and Germany. The African Outpost is like nothing more than just a pause button while going around the World Showcase, and 95% of people don't even use it. It's just use a refreshments area, and that's basically it. And the worst part is that it has nowhere to sit down. Like, why even stop here? It makes no sense. But another reason why I would use this area is that it's actually directly next to the little canal that feeds into the World Showcase Lagoon. That's where the African Outpost is. The water that goes from the lake and it snakes its way backstage. And, a little fun thing that you could do and say is that, oh, this canal is actually the Nile River right next to the Egypt Pavilion. Sure, that would require some mental acrobatics to accomplish the integration of the river into the pavilion itself, while still being used as a functional waterway between backstage and the lagoon. But the stream of water is right there for the taking. It's right there. You could easily just be creative and just say, oh, this is the Nile River. Maybe have an animatronic of a Nile crocodile. I don't know, something like that. And my last and final reason why Egypt is simply because Epcot desperately needs a real, legitimate, established pavilion hailing from the African side of the world. We have several Asian countries and European countries in the mix, with all of the North American countries in the World Showcase. But why not have an actual African pavilion instead of having the African Outpost cheap knockoff? Now, I know other countries would be huge for the eventual expansion for World Showcase, such as Brazil or India or Russia, but all of those have their own reasons why not to add them. Brazil's most iconic structure is the Christ Redeemer, And seeming though I would be a huge supporter of that inclusion, I just don't know if Disney would be super keen on having a massive statue of Jesus in the middle of their park. India would be cool. It would be amazing inclusion. India almost has like 20% of the world's population. Iconic scenery. You could easily create an immersive experience with Mumbai and maybe the Taj Mahal, but I'm just not too sure if there's a right way to show off their architecture of an Indian city such as Mumbai while adding their most popular piece of architecture in the Taj Mahal and having the pavilion feel cohesive. And lastly, Russia. Honestly, it would make for a cool pavilion. Like the big color castle, I don't know what that thing is, but with the growing tensions between Russia and the United States on a geopolitical spectrum, I don't know if that's the best move. And there are tons of other ways to integrate other countries such as Greece or Spain, Ireland, Australia, the Bahamas. Disney is sitting on a goldmine of potential. However, I still think the physical nature of where the piece of land is alongside the canal, the ideas of forced perspective with the pyramids, and the need for a real African pavilion, I think the Egypt Pavilion would be a fantastic inclusion to the World Showcase. Well, there you have it. I successfully done Disney's job way better than they ever could. I love brainstorming different ideas to make their parks better, what to add to it, what to remove, all for the sake of immersion and experience. Disney, I have lawyers to back me up, so you cannot take these copyrighted ideas, so don't even think about stealing them. Thank you guys so much for listening, watching, having fun with me. Thank you for clicking on my video. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching all the way through. Make sure to look out for the new JR8 podcast episode, Patreon. Go subscribe to that. I really appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video, podcast episode, Patreon video. Doesn't matter. I'm doing it. Thank you very much.